Jay Reinstein joins us now to offer the patient perspective on Alzheimer's. Jay was diagnosed 4 years ago with early onset Alzheimer's. Welcome, Jay, and thanks for taking the time to tell your story.
Thanks so much for having me here today. Appreciate it.
Well, I've read some of your story, but why don't you just tell our viewers how difficult this process was and what you've learned and what policy changes you're seeking?
Well, for me, I'm 62 years old. I was diagnosed with early stage Alzheimer's, I think late 57, early 58. And it was really a showstopper for me. I mean, everything sort of stopped. My career stopped. Wasn't sure what I was going to do in life. And I have found that in the last 4 years, since the devastating news, that advocacy has been my number one priority. And it's been meeting with our legislators, both at the federal level and the state level. And ultimately, it's finding one of these treatments that can hopefully slow down the progression. While I'm doing well, it's progressing rather slowly. I have a neurologist at Duke and at Georgetown. There is that sense of urgency that I don't feel that CMS is feeling regarding the coverage for this new drug Leqembi. And my neurologist said that I am a perfect candidate for this drug. And the longer it takes for them to provide coverage, I could get out of that window to get the appropriate treatment that I need. So there's a sense of desperation, really, for me and for others out there that desperately need these treatments.
And as far as, do you think that we've been talking to Democrats and Republicans on the CMS coverage decision? Do you think that in a matter of time, maybe perhaps as early as this summer, that you will be able to, that CMS will reverse fields and cover this treatment?
I'm hopeful. I've talked to both Democratic and Republican elected officials. This is one of those diseases and one of these issues that seems to get support from both sides. I'm encouraged. However, I think I'm more cautiously optimistic. Just knowing that with the last decision with CMS, with the former drug, aducanumab, it just seems to be very discriminatory. And I've listened to your other speakers, and cost should not be a reason that a decision is being made. But in the back of my mind, it seems like that's the case. And I think ultimately, as more drugs do come on board, hopefully it will be easier for CMS. But I think there's just that level of frustration. I'm taking all the steps right now. Actually, I just had my MRI done. I'm going to be getting a lumbar puncture in the coming weeks. And then I'm getting my amyloid PET scan through a program I'm in through the Alzheimer's Association, which will not charge me for this PET scan. But I'm doing all of this so that I can get this drug, which right now there's no coverage for. And the other thing I would just like to add, too, is the fact that to have to go through all these hurdles and these clinical trials, to me, is outrageous. So I'm hoping that if I take these right steps, I'm not going to have to go through all these hurdles. And I'm hoping in July 6th or 7th, whenever that decision is going to be made, that will be that much closer. And I'll be able to spend that time, with my grandkids and my kids and my family. I just want more quality time with my family. And that's Absolutely. All I'm asking for.
Absolutely. Not a lot to ask. As far as what you would advise others, whether it's other patients, as you said, you were diagnosed 4 years ago, what have you learned over the last 4 years that you would tell other patients or potential patients down the road and their caregivers?
Well, I think, my message always is hope. And I try to, convey that message. But I think that there are those things that one can do. Like, I've been involved in support groups. And I think for the person that gets the diagnosis, there's nothing better than to spend time with people that are going through something similar. as you are going through, to share those stories, good and bad. Having a sense of humor. I am someone that, jokes a lot, and I'm okay when my friends sort of kid around a little bit. I think the other thing is, exercise and eating better. And I'm not always the best with my diet, but diet is critical and exercise is critical. Number one for me, though, is socialization, is getting out there, being around people, not isolating yourself. I've seen that this disease seems to progress at a faster rate, maybe when you're isolated than when you're not. But I focus on those things I do well. I have trouble retaining what I read now, so I don't read books. I have trouble processing information and short-term memory. But there are so many other things that I can do, and I can still be productive, and life isn't over the way I look at it. So I think it's just hope. And then just really quickly for the caregiver, so much attention is put on me and those others living with the disease. The caregiver has such a huge role and such an important role, and thank your caregiver as often as you can.
That is some great advice. Jay, thank you for sharing your story with us.
Thank you so much for having me be here today.